I'm going to talk about humanizing experiences. Uh, so a quick background in terms of why this subject is extremely important for me, and also in terms of how this is related to where our culture and what we do in this environment can be learning for a lot of people abroad based on. I spent almost 24 years working, or maybe 27 years working with multinationals, actually, IBM and Ericsson. So I grew up in a very small industrial town called Sindri in a Jharkhand district. And thanks to, in terms of the city, in a very small town, which actually the culture I was brought in, also in terms of my family and my friends who helped me to build this thinking in terms of why humanizing experiences are extremely important and helps in terms of, and if it doesn't happen, what impact it leaves on people. There are many things which I'll talk about. It's have already been covered by Vinay, Mr. H. N. Srinivas, and some part in terms of Balaji also. Storytelling is extremely important. I took my father to one of the multinational, public sector banks many years back, and he was on bed and he had to close an account. This bank was on the first floor, and he had to close the account in terms of that. So he said, "Look, I can't go." And I went up to the first floor to ask the bank people, "So that, can you guys come down? My father can't go. There's no lift there." So they refused to come. And this was almost 7-8 years back, 10 years back story. So what I'm trying to say is that I think humanizing experience is such an important part, and it leaves all of us actually have positive and negative experiences. And when it comes about experiences, I think the culture, all of us, not only in this part of the world, I have had an opportunity to deal with more than people in 100 countries. I think the thought process is just move on. Move on. You have good experiences, you go and you have negative experiences today in the social media place, you go and vent your comments here and there, but nothing more about it. But we can't just leave it too, because I think the corporates and all of us leaders have a role to play, because it's impacting life of people and the society we live in. So something has to be done, and that's my subject actually covers today. I am thankful to this ad which I was growing many years back. I think some of you will relate to this ad. Especially, sir, I think it was a dream ad and it's still very fresh in our mind. So we also make steel, and this is Tata Steel ad many years back in terms of, it told the story in terms of, look, because of the different experiences, and if we go back and look at the video, even today it's available on YouTube, it's such a powerful ad, and it relates to the environment even today. It's relevant even today, this ad. And so some of these ads and also the work Tata has done, has loved, and you talked about, I think, Balaji, you talked about in terms of the incident at the Taj Hotel, all have left impressions on me in terms of on the subject of humanizing experiences. Okay, so I went back, and I'm not a deep expert on Vedas and this and that. Okay, sorry, that's my candid confession. But I went back and looked at in terms of, read through few of things and looked at in terms of some of the comments which I could find, and fairness and trust are because we talked about leadership development, and these two aspects plays a very important topic. When it's about humanizing, fairness plays a very important role. And fairness, if people have right experiences, it leads to trust building. And there is a connection there. On the right-hand side, you'll see we have been studying about fairness for the last 4 years. And we did a Google to understand in terms of what Google is throwing about fairness and fairness in corporate world. This is what we got. This is what we got, and this is a true statement not only for India, this is a true statement for across the world. If you just type on Google right now, and find about what is fairness implies in a corporate world, you will find nothing. In my 4 years of research, I found one article in Saudi Mobile actually who had done some work on customer fairness. Nobody else. Okay. So what we did is that we went and studied in terms of, I talked about that fairness and the relationship with trust. And we all talk about trust all the time and sometimes use loosely in terms of fairness is equal to trust, trust is equal to fairness. This is a trust circle, and this is, some of us have created as part of the fairness piece of it. I'm not going to talk about others, but I just want to share some statistics with you in terms of how fair experiences, which is about humanizing experiences, almost 40 to 70 or 60% in terms of what drives trust is perception and experiences. And Vikrant, I think the experience which we had, and today we were having lunch together, and gentleman actually forced sir to actually have a roti, and he was saying that, no, I don't want to do that. But he persisted and convinced him that, look, that's the hospitality and experiences you have. That's leaves. You can have a great product, but if you don't have right experiences, you will move on. So the challenge has been in terms of how you define fairness. Because what fairness means to somebody will be meaning to something else to somebody. But there is 4 types of fairness, and we wanted to just study the fairness, and because remember, it's about humanizing experiences. So there are 4 types of fairness: distributive fairness, procedural fairness, information fairness, and interpersonal fairness. And this actually is quite well defined here in terms of, and I'm not going to go through this, but these are extremely important in terms of, and it applies to either you are in any field, or you are in field of corporates, legal, HR, finance, anything, the principles remains the same. So what we did was that in terms of how do you humanize experiences, we defined fair experiences because that's extremely important. That's the model we are talking about. We say that fair experiences, and this is, many work has been done about only one stakeholder. And I'll talk later in a slide in terms of, because most of the work has been done on customers as well as and employees. But you cannot actually, when you're looking at fairness, you cannot look at only 1 or 2 stakeholders. You have to, the point is that can you be fair to one stakeholder and not to the others? That concept doesn't fly in this world. So you have to be fair to all of them, and that's extremely important. So the definition we are talking about is that diverse needs taken into account along being transparent. The word extremely important is diverse and transparent. Means either you're making a product, you're making a policy, you're making anything. If you bring diverse thought process in making it, and you're transparent, I think that's the foundation. That's we talk about the design part of it. And if in terms of comes to delivery piece of it, if you are inconsistent and you do with dignity, you will provide a lot of, in terms of fair experience to people. And the last extremely important is that if people see win-win outcomes and value is promised, they will see in terms of fairness to, in terms of the whole agreement, mental or physical or paper agreement they had. So any of this actually falls below their level of things, I think just people move on. And they don't provide the fair experiences to people. And this is slightly in a different format. We call it in terms of design, deliver, and delight. That's what I talked about it. So these are the 6 elements in terms of inclusion, transparency, consistency, dignity, equitable outcome, and value are promised. And the 7 stakeholders which you're talking about it. What I just wanted to cover, these are last 2 slides. Fairness cannot be selective. We cannot be fair to some stakeholders and not to others. Actually, that journey will not lead to anywhere. Experience are the way cultures change are felt, seen, and also seen as in the symbols of this. If all these things, the systems, symbols, and behaviors don't come in place together, I think it won't lead to right behavior and right culture. This is a place which we feel that the opportunity for India to play the gap in terms of telling the world the experience which we have, and also in terms of what our historical things as well as the space in terms of what we have seen for some examples of companies. We can build some stories which we can share, because in my research, we saw that fair experiences as the subject nowhere in the world has been dealt, and which still I come back and tell you that I think it carries so much of weightage. I have gone back to people and leaders across the world to understand why people have not touched that subject and don't have a right answer. So if anyone of you wants to know more, we are just doing a workshop later, but that's come later. Why this is important? Because everyone deserves fair experience to thrive. Some of us are fortunate that we had great environment or great bosses. Think about people who didn't have an opportunity. So they will never reach the place which some of us have reached. Second part is extremely important, is that you need to have everybody needs a voice and a choice. Many times, bullying happens in an organization because people actually are not able to raise the voice and don't have a choice. So if people have a voice and choice, I think the world will be totally different. We are doing a summit in terms of on 12th, and this is an invitation to everybody. On 12th, this is a summit on 12th of December in Mumbai. Summit theme is in terms of how you can build trusted organization based on fair experiences. And we have six sessions. Which talks about in terms of how can run business, how can you build culture, how can you do in terms of leadership culture. So I don't want to go through, but we are trying to deal this subject in a more depth way, first time in the history of what I know, what I have seen in my history. That's my light slide. Thank you.